Hello, everybody, and welcome to our live this Monday afternoon. I just wanted to come on here and give you a few updates specifically from the USCIS, the U.S. Immigration Service, and DHS. We had quite a few, changes come out from UCIS in the past few weeks. So I wanted to kind of go over them and give you an update, and of course, give you a chance to ask your questions in the comments. And as you see this live, so as you guys are joining me on this live, let me know where you're from, where you're tuning in. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go over a few things. First of all, the new entrepreneur rule announcement that just came in today from UCIS. I'm going to explain to you what that means and who is going to be impacted by this announcement. We're going to talk about the biometrics revocation rule, the biometrics changes that were announced also a few days ago, and we're going to go over interview waivers, which interviews are being waived from our office, and what are the changes that are happening with that. I'm going to give you an update on that. Some people are asking. I wanted to provide that update as well. And finally, we'll talk about the policy of decision deference from UCIS, what that means, and how it's going to impact your cases. So we're going to go over all this in this live. And if you have questions, please make sure to drop them in the comments below, and you can ask your questions as you watch this live with me on. So let's get started first of all with today's announcement. This morning we've got DHS announced the continuation of the International Entrepreneur Parole Program. And what this means is that back in 2017, just before President Obama left office, they announced that creating a program for entrepreneurs that are starting a company in the United States, and they are raising at least $250,000 and employ 10 workers. They're going to be able to get a parole for 3 years to be able to stay and work in the United States. Now, under President Trump's administration, they were announcing a proposal to get rid of this. They wanted to get rid of this from the regulations, and so that program was kind of put on hold. But in today's announcement, President Biden said that he's looking forward into getting more, basically bringing more value to entrepreneurs and embracing entrepreneurship in the United States. And so it looks like we don't have too many details, but it looks like the entrepreneur rule is going to be back and maybe even expanding it further. So the idea is that if you're here on a different status, or if you're overseas and you're going to start a company, your company could raise $250,000 at least, and you're going to be providing jobs for at least 10 employees. You're going to be able to get a parole for 3 years, and from there, depending on how your company is going to do, it could lead to other things. So this is coming back, and of course, we'll get some details as to when it's going to happen, and I'll let you know. So yeah, so that this was announced today, and last week, the USCIS announced that they're going to get rid of the proposed rule to force biometrics pretty much on all applicants. They were going to get people to leave their voice, voice sample, DNA, all that kind of things that they were going to require people to do. Well, that rule was canceled as of last week, which is amazing news because I know that a lot of our viewers were concerned about it. So, that's another good thing that is coming. And remember, all these changes, like even the one that I mentioned today, this is under Biden's plan to restore faith and decency into our immigration system, right? So all these things that you see being announced, and more of these things are going to be coming in the next few months, is part of that plan to bring back what our system should look like. So For example, DHS announced just yesterday that they're going to expedite the EAD process, the EAD issuance for asylum seekers. So they're not going to require them to wait 30 days to be able to, wait on their work permits after they submit it. They're going to be able to um, work on expediting those EADs specifically for asylum workers. So that's another, it shows you that they are trying to make some efforts and trying to make the USCIS work a little bit in a more efficient way. One thing that I wanted to mention to you, and I know that a lot of people are asking me, is what's happening right now with with interview waivers. So remember, I've made quite a few videos before about people that are going through the adjustment of status process, and in many cases, USCIS chooses to waive those interviews, to essentially just send you the green card in the mail and approve your case. So this is continues to happen. Right now, we've seen an increase, specifically, of course, on the employment-based EB2 categories, EB3 cases. We get a lot of these interview waivers where clients essentially they get a request for evidence to submit maybe a birth certificate or maybe a couple of photos that were missing, and maybe a month after that, an interview is canceled, and essentially they just get their green card in the mail. So that is continued to happen, even on the family side. Even though on the family side, we've seen some of these interviews being waived. At our office, we had in a few marriage cases, long-term marriage cases, and also people that came here on a K-1 visa and they're adjusting their status. Those cases also been waived. So that continues to happen. And I think USCIS is trying to streamline the process. They're trying to expedite adjudications. And as a result, you're going to see more and more of these interviews being waived. Now, remember, last week, I'm going to try to pull my screen. I'm going to show you that last week, they also announced another policy, which is relying on all decisions. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So let's go and look here. So if you look here, this policy here is policy guidance on deference to previous decisions. And again, how is that going to help with all these improvements that they're doing? Is that, if you had an H-1B, or if you had a student status and you wanted to extend it, so under this policy, they're going to be able to give credit to the fact that you already held that status. It's going to be much easier to get an extension, which means that they're going to be able to move through more cases much faster, as opposed to what they've done before, because the whole point is to go through the backlog. So all these efforts are geared towards one direction only, and this is to speed up the processing. So if they're going to start giving deference to previous decisions, if they're going to start continue to waive interviews, if they're going to get rid of draconian decisions like the biometrics and bring back rules like the entrepreneur rule, then we're going to see that the system is going to improve, and more immigrants are going to get confidence back in the system, which I think what Biden is trying to do. So I think these updates or these things that we see are very, very important. And again, those of you that are joining in right now, you can post the questions. I want to see if I can take a few questions, but I think it was important because I've done quite a few videos in the past few weeks about embassies, update about embassies reopening, the status of immigrant visa interviews. But there's a lot of things that are happening on the USCIS side here inside the United States, which I think that's the reason why I went live today, just to kind of explain to you. So I'm overly excited about the fact that the entrepreneur rule is going to come back. It's going to help a lot of people that don't qualify for visas otherwise, except from the fact that they have an idea and the business that's starting. And I think the parole is going to help a lot of people to come back to the United States, to start companies, and drive our innovation to the moon, as they say. So, and of course, we are, as you know, we do a lot of visas for entrepreneurs, and we are excited to, for this rule to become a reality. But between this rule and, as I mentioned before, the fact that they getting rid of the crazy biometric rule, the fact that they are going to be waiving biometrics to a lot of applications, specifically for H4 and L2 spouses that are being waiting, the fact that they are giving credit to previous decisions to help adjudicate the cases, and waiving interviews, continue to waive interviews. This is huge, and that tells me that we're moving in the right direction while Biden is trying to work on other stuff. UCIS is pushing forward. And I can tell you from our office, we see faster adjudication of cases. Even on citizenship cases, when people go right now for citizenship, if they have a clean case, not only they're going to pass their citizenship test right there, but UCIS will also give them the oath on the spot and give them citizenship on the spot. And these are new things that are happening in the past few months, all from UCIS trying to innovate and also try to adjust and make things a little bit smoother. And hopefully the State Department is going to learn from that and do their own thing and start processing immigrant visas much faster, and learn from UCIS that they can innovate, that they can do things much better if they just put their mind to it and do it. So hopefully these updates are helpful for you guys, but there's a good, expect a lot more changes from UCIS, expect a lot more faster adjudication, a lot more interview waivers, and hopefully we're going to see shortage in waiting times, processing times in UCIS, because right now processing times are really, really long, and we hope that they're going to tackle that as a next step. So let me take a couple of more questions, and take a few random questions, but I promise to answer your questions after the end of this video in the comments. I promise you. Ranuki says, I received my first conditional green card. How hard is it to remove the conditions on it? Is it harder than the first interview? So it's not, it shouldn't be harder to remove the conditions. As long as you have a good case, I think the question should be how long it's going to take. And right now, processing times are still slow. So I think it's important to do it. If you have, make sure you send them all the documents. Make sure you give them as much evidence so the case can be processed correctly. Xander says, I'm waiting for an interview appointment. I-1, how long will it take? U.S. Embassy in Manila, update 2021. Again, in this video, I'm focusing mostly on UCIS, but I promise to update you in future videos on what's happening with U.S. embassies. Let's see here. Here we go. Has there ever been a time in the past where family-based F visas have been waived in the consular processing abroad? Surely this should be waived. So as of now, there's no interview waivers overseas, okay? The interview waivers are happening inside the United States. The reason the interview waivers are not happening overseas is because the U.S. embassies are looking at this as a security threat. They want to make sure that people that actually get a visa to enter the United States, they have to be interviewed properly. In fact, I made a video last week that I mentioned that there are going to be no Zoom interviews at U.S. embassies abroad. They have to see you. They have to ask you questions. They have to verify you. The reason they're able to do it inside the United States is because don't forget that you went through a biometrics background check. There's a lot more checks that you can do inside the United States that they can't do overseas, and therefore it is happening here. Question from Donna. My case sent to the National Benefit Center. Don't know what to expect. So remember, Donna, the MBC, which is part of the UCIS, is also being delayed right now. So what I would suggest is once your case was received in the National Benefit Center, give them 90 days. Give them 90 days to work on the case and see what happens. And then you can make an inquiry, If you have an attorney, you can have your attorney make an inquiry, but it is important to give them a little bit of time so they can work on their cases. We definitely expect to see some more movement forward with the National Benefit Center as they are catching up on their cases. So definitely don't lose hope, but I would give them 90 days. Evelyn, what happens with the tests that have been taken before the pandemic? Are you talking about the citizenship test? So if I get your question correctly, if it's a citizenship test, then you should be okay. You should be okay to. I mean, in your case, you just have to wait for, I guess, for the approval. And I would definitely follow up with UCIS because it shouldn't be taking that long to get an approval, if that's what I'm reading correctly. So let's take a question from Mazur. So UCIS is waiving interviews for the green card application for national interest waivers or not? Yes, it's possible as well for the national interest waiver as well. So whatever the application is, it could be waived. It depends on what stage of the adjustment of status you add. So anyway, guys, I'm gonna finish this live stream in a second. Those of you that want to have a consultation with me, please text me at 619-483-4549. You can see the number right here. And I'm happy to have a consultation with you. If you're here for the first time, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Give us a big like. And so YouTube will be able to share this video with more people like you. More videos are coming your way. We are working on new content for you guys. Thank you so much for your support. You're the best. And I'll keep posting your comments here. And I'll continue to answer them after this video is going to be offline. Thanks for watching and have a beautiful day.